So my first question, why are we here in New York? Why aren't we out on the campaign trail?
Oh, I've been to Iowa many times. I've been to New Hampshire many, many times. I love the people there, and we've had tremendous success. We've had tremendous crowds. Nobody gets as many standing ovations, and I spent a lot of time out. I was in South Carolina recently, and we're all over. I'm going to, this weekend I'll be with Clint Eastwood in California, tremendous group of people. I'm going to Arizona this weekend. I'll be all over the place.
You were one of the only candidates who didn't campaign during the 4th of July. Pretty much all of them were up in New Hampshire, and you were not there. You've had no campaign events really this week, no campaign events planned for next week that we know of so far. You're not campaigning that much. How can anybody take you seriously if you're not out there showing your face?
Because I'm doing television with you, and I am up there actually a lot, and I watch them up there walking the streets, and it didn't mean anything, and I was actually getting more news coverage than anybody else by far, because I'm the one that brought up the whole situation and the whole mess with immigration and what the Mexican government is doing to us. So, I didn't have to be, and I would have been if they wanted me to, and I just decided that probably it wasn't necessary. I'm going up actually next week, and I'll be in Iowa many times over the next number of months, and New Hampshire many, many times.
Let's talk immigration, since that's the hot topic. Yesterday there was news coming out from the Washington Post about your hotel site in D.C. There are a lot of immigrants working on that, including some who say
legal immigrants,
that they are not here, they're not legally here.
They didn't say that. No, if you read that article, it really doesn't say that. In fact, the writer was very surprised that they weren't able to find anybody. We have a very strong system. I have a contractor that's one of the biggest in the nation. They're doing it. So far, they're doing a very good job. They have a very strong verification system. And the whole story was about, they thought they were going to find people, and they weren't able to find anybody.
They did find some people who said that they were undocumented.
Well, they certainly didn't write them down and write their names, and we're very strong on that. And with 11 to 31 million illegal immigrants in the country, it's pretty hard to be in a position where you actually can't find anybody. That's going to be a fantastic job. That was sitting there for years, like 30 years, empty, vacant, a disastrous situation. I took it over. We're going to have one of the great hotels of the world. We're very proud of it. We're also very proud of the building and the building practices.
Are you concerned, though, for the people that are working for you to put these buildings up? One of the workers told the Washington Post, do you think that we're hanging out of the eighth floor window and we're raping or selling drugs, we're risking our lives and our health? These fumes are toxic. Do you have a reaction to that when somebody says that about your job site?
Because I was just totally misquoted. In fact, I could read. I could give you a copy of the speech. I could read it. I was so misquoted that it's incredible. I'm talking about the Mexican government forces many bad people into our country because they're smart. They're smarter than our leaders, and their negotiators are far better than what we have. Like to a degree that you wouldn't believe. They're forcing people into our country. This guy that killed the wonderful young woman from San Francisco, he went back to Mexico. They forced him out. They force people into our country, and they are drug dealers, and they are criminals of all kind. We are taking Mexico's problems. Mexico is beating us on trade, and they're beating us at the border. But Mexico doesn't want to take these people, so what do? They send them to our stupid politicians, and we have sanctuary cities, and we have all of this nonsense. I've been saying this for a long time, Katy, and it's a disgrace. And frankly, if I didn't bring it up, you wouldn't even be talking about immigration right now.
When was the last time you were at the border?
I've been to the border probably 3 or 4 times over the years, and I have many people that live around the area. I'm going to Arizona this weekend where they want to talk to me because Arizona is... And somebody said I'm the most popular person in Arizona because of my stance. And I'm going to be there this weekend.
When was the last time that you were there?
Probably 3 years ago.
So if you haven't been there in 3 years, how do you know that it is such a problem?
Oh, because I knew it was bad then and it's worse now. It was terrible then and it's worse now. It's worse now than it's ever been. We don't even have a border. People are just flowing through like water. There is no border right now.
The murder rate in El Paso, Texas, which is right on the border, is the lowest murder rate for any of the big cities in the country.
Don't try and convince me that there's no crime, that it's wonderful. The people that are being forced in, and these aren't just Mexican people, the people that are being forced, Mexico doesn't want people, they're forcing them into our country, and we're taking them and we're putting them in our jails and our hospitals, and we're paying them money through different sources. It's a disgrace. Don't tell me about safety. Are you trying to justify safety at the border? I don't think so.
We have a lower incarceration rate for Mexican immigrants and illegal immigrants than we do for any U.S. born citizens.
It's a wrong statistic. Go check your numbers. It's totally wrong. It sounds good. It sounds good. It's a wrong statistic. Check your numbers.
So do you think that there's...
And by the way, I'm not Nazi. I have great relationship with the Mexican people. I have many people working for me. You can look at the job in Washington. I have many legal immigrants working for me. Many of them come from Mexico. They love me. I love them. And I'll tell you something. If I get the nomination, I'll win the Latino vote. I will win it because I'm going to create jobs. Hillary Clinton is not going to be able to create jobs. I will tell you right now. Neither is Jeb Bush going to be able to create jobs. I will create jobs, and the Latinos will have jobs that they don't have right now, and I will win that vote. And everyone thinks, oh, gee, Trump is going to not do well with that vote. I'll do better with that vote than anybody. And I have thousands of them working for me at different places that I have all over the country. I will win that vote.
Why should people believe your numbers when you come out here and say that they're committing crimes and they're in our jails and they're murdering us and taking our jobs? A few years ago, you led the birther movement. You sent investigators out to Hawaii to find out whether or not Obama, which you said was not born here.
Well,
and it turned out to not be true.
Well,
so
I don't know. According to you, it's not true. I don't know.
He released his birth certificate.
You know, if you believe that, that's fine. I don't care. It's an old subject. I'm about jobs. I'm about security. I'm about fixing the military. I'm about taking care of our vets. I'm about things that you don't have to bring up old subjects. Whether he did or not, who knows? A lot of people don't agree with you on that, by the way. But I'm really about economic development, and I'm about jobs, and that's what we have to start talking about. And I'm about beating ISIS militarily and not acting like a bunch of babies like we're acting right now.
Do you have a plan for ISIS?
I do have a plan, actually.
What is it?
I would knock the hell out of the oil areas because they're rich as can be. They're building a hotel in Iraq. They took over a hotel. They're renovating a hotel in Iraq. They're renovating another hotel in a different location. They have nothing but money. It's coming out of their ears. And they're getting most of their money from oil.
And if you
remember, excuse me, Katie, if you remember, number one, I said you shouldn't go into Iraq anyway because you're going to destabilize the Middle East. That's exactly what happened. Then I said, once you're in, if you're leaving, keep the oil. Well, ISIS has the oil and Iran has the oil. If they would have listened to me that way, and I was very strong. The Bush people in 2004 sent people to my office because they didn't want me to say what I was saying. And I'm more into the military, by the way, than anybody. But you have to know when and where to use the military. We made a tremendous mistake. We spent $2 trillion, thousands of lives, wounded warriors all over the place, who I love, by the way, all over the place. And what do we have? We're not even there anymore. And Iran is taking over Iraq. In fact, they're meeting right now. Iran is taking over Iraq. We got nothing for it, zero. And it's really a sad situation. With ISIS, you kill them at the head, you take the oil. That's where they're getting their money. If you bomb the hell out of it, you bomb the hell out of it. You've got to stop their wealth. They have tremendous wealth. I'm talking about oil. I'm talking about oil areas. I'm not talking about civilian areas.
Civilians are near oil areas.
Oh, give me a break, Katie. Go ahead, next question.
Let's say domestically. A lot of people are killed by gun violence in this country. What would you do about that?
Well, you have a lot of people that are killed by gun, but I'm a big Second Amendment person. You know, when the prisoners escaped up in New York, which was a tragedy in itself, people that were against guns said, thank God we have guns. I remember seeing on television a woman saying, I was always fighting with my husband. He wanted guns. He felt so strongly about guns, and I would fight him. Now we have a gun in every drawer, a gun on every table, in case these guys broke into the house. It's very interesting. No, I'm a Second Amendment person.
What about people that walk into churches and shoot people, or walk into schools and shoot people?
They're sick people. These are very, very sick people. They'll be able to get something somewhere.
Are you not more concerned about them than you're concerned about illegal immigrants coming in here and
I'm concerned
people?
About everything. I'm concerned about the country. Our country's going to hell. I'm concerned about everything, okay? Our country is being beaten in trade deals by China, by Japan, by Mexico. Mexico is the new China. Mexico is killing us in trade. We're being beaten at every front. We're being beaten militarily. We have a military that every time we send equipment to our so-called allies, one bullet is shot in the air, and we lost 2,300 armor-plated Humvees, not 3 or 4 or 7. We lost 2,000 in one day. 2,300 Humvees. I say, that's impossible. How can you lose that many? A bullet gets fired into the air, and the people that we're giving these Humvees to, they run like bandits, and the enemy takes them over. The enemy has better equipment than we have. Because we're foolish.
You're for the Second Amendment. Do you have a gun?
I have a license to have a gun. Yes, I do.
Do you own one?
Yes, I do.
Do you use it? Gun range?
It's none of your business. It's really none of your business. I have a license to have a gun.
Gun control?
What are you talking about?
Or
You asked me
stronger
if I have a
background,
gun.
stronger
yes, I have a
background
gun.
checks.
Excuse me. Yes, I have a gun, and yes, I have a permit to have a gun.
Stronger background checks. What about that? Is there any
I
steps that you would take to make it harder to get a gun in this country?
The problem is, once you get into that, you start getting into a situation, the slippery slope, where all of a sudden you're going to really violate the Second Amendment. I don't want to do anything to violate the Second Amendment. To me, the Second Amendment is very important.
I want to talk about what some of the Republicans have been saying about you just this week. You've been very divisive for the party. You have Charles Krauthammer, who's called you a rodeo clown.
Well, Charles Krauthammer is a totally overrated person who really dislikes me personally. I never met him, but I mean, he's a totally overrated guy, doesn't know what he's doing. He was totally in favor of the war in Iraq. He wanted to go into Iraq and he wanted to, stay there forever. So, these are overrated people. I see who it is. I mean, you can mention name after name. By the way, you're going to mention the ones that do like Trump? You don't do that, do you?
Goldberg has compared you to a failed man who mistook flattery for insight. George Will.
I'm a failed man. I'm worth a fortune. I built, you know what? It's interesting. I went to the best school, got the best, great marks, everything else. I went out, I made a fortune, a big fortune, a tremendous fortune. I'll be announcing that in about a week because I have to file my papers, bigger than people even understand. I have a book called The Art of the Deal. I do The Apprentice. The Art of the Deal was like the #1 business book of all time, or just about, I think it was. And I do The Apprentice, and NBC's angry at me because they renewed The Apprentice and I wouldn't do it. And that's one of the reasons that NBC's so angry at me. And then I get called by a guy that can't buy a pair of pants. I get called names. Give me a break.
So you will release your financials on time?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we're gonna have it on time. In
That's
fact,
8 days from now.
Excuse me. I'm allowed 45-day extension and another 45-day extension. I don't expect to be using any extensions. On time is really not on time because you're allowed automatically 2 45-day extensions. I don't think I'm going to be using them. I should be filing. They're very complicated. These papers weren't meant for me because of the complexity and the bigness of what I have. But we should be releasing them ahead of schedule.
Where do you get your money from?
I made it the old-fashioned way, in real estate. I made it, and I made a lot of money doing everything I did. I made a lot of money with The Apprentice. I made a lot of money in real estate. I made a lot of money, everything I did. I've had great success.
What about the companies that have backed away from you? 9 by our count. If you want to count the city of New York that's looking at its contracts, 10. Are you concerned that you're going to come to a point where you're going to lose so much business that this is just not worth it?
I'm not concerned. Let me tell you what's worth it. If it weren't for immigration, okay, you wouldn't even be hearing about the word immigration if it wasn't for Donald Trump. Immigration is a word, illegal immigration. I brought the whole subject up. In fact, your friends at Fox gave me great credit for that the other day. They said if it wasn't for Donald Trump, we wouldn't even be talking about illegal immigration or even immigration right now. And I've been given, and then you had the horrible tragedy in San Francisco with the young woman who was shot, with a person that should have never been here. No, this is too important. Yeah, I'm losing some contracts, who cares? People politically, they're weak and they want to be politically correct. Some of them have already apologized to me. They made a mistake. And you know what? That's fine. Because compared to what I have, first of all, my company's a massive company and it's a very rich company. But compared to what I have, it doesn't matter. Most important, and even if it was a huge amount of money, I would still do this. Now, when people run for, as an example, when these different people are running for president, they don't lose anything. A politician doesn't lose anything when he or she runs for president. They run, they lose, they win, they don't lose anything. When I run as a successful person, I lose a tremendous amount. I mean, the kind of money that I lose on all these deals that you're reading about. Now, a lot of them are blown out of proportion, like they had ESPN. Oh, ESPN, so you know what it was? It was a ballroom evening, an evening in a ballroom. That's already replaced. They have NASCAR left. That was another thing. I guess ESPN maybe was a little golf tournament. NASCAR was a ballroom. It was a banquet. But they make it like it's this tremendous deal.
If it's hurting you, why do it?
Katy, let me just say, the press is very, very dishonest. And I think people are wise to the press.
If it's hurting you, why do it?
Because I want to make America great again. Honestly, very simple. Our country is in trouble. We owe $18 trillion, going up to $21 trillion very soon. Once we hit $24 trillion, we're Greece. We are Greece on steroids. We're a large-scale version. I want to make our country great again. We have the potential to have that great spirit that we once had. We don't have it anymore. Our country is a mess, whether it's illegal immigration, whether it's our military, whether it's the way we take care of our vets. Our country is a mess.
George Will said you could be a Democratic operative.
George Will is another one. He was at Mar-a-Lago years ago. He spoke. I didn't want to listen to him speak, and he's never forgiven me for the fact that I didn't show up, because I find him to be a very boring guy. So what do I want to listen to George Will for? I listen to the people. I get the biggest crowds, I get the biggest standing ovations, and I guess you see it in the poll numbers. And I don't even care about it. Look, maybe I'm wasting my time doing this, and it costs me some money in terms of some deals. The big money is the opportunity, because while I'm wasting my time talking to you, which is, essentially one-sided, but that's fine. But while I'm wasting time talking to you, I could be doing deals on other things. And so I'm losing out on hundreds of millions of dollars. Nobody else loses. When they run for office, they don't lose. A politician doesn't lose, but I do lose. But I want to just to answer the question, I'm running because I want to make our country great again.
Republicans say that you're hurting the party. Do you think you're hurting the party? If you divide them so severely, will you be able to get the nomination and then become president?
Well, on Fox, they say that I did a great service because I'm the one that brought up the whole discussion on immigration, and I think I'm helping the party greatly. And I actually think that if you look at Mitt Romney, who was a great disappointment because he ran a terrible campaign, and especially in the last month, he totally collapsed, he choked, something happened to him, but he choked. Pure and simple. If you look at him, many of the conservative Republicans just stayed home. They didn't want to do anything. They stayed home, they didn't even vote for him. If those people got out and voted, he would have won. But you had a lot of Republicans and conservative Republicans stay home because they weren't energized.
The Latino vote also would have helped him.
Let me tell you about the Latino vote. I will win the Latino vote because I'm going to put them to work. I'm going to be able to get jobs. I will take jobs back from China. I'll take jobs back from Japan, where they're making so many cars. Millions and millions of cars. What do we get? We send very little to Japan by comparison. I'll take jobs back from Mexico. Mexico is going to become the car capital of the world the way they're going. Ford is now building a $2.5 billion plant, $2.5 billion in Mexico. They're going to sell cars in the United States and parts and trucks in the United States. Excuse me, how does that help us? In Tennessee, they just lost a plant that was going to be built in Tennessee. It went to Mexico. So Mexico is going to take care of their people because, as I said before, their leaders are smarter than our leaders, and their negotiators are far better. And that will never happen if I'm president.
You have 17% of the population that is Latino. A lot of them say they're very offended by what you're saying was a misquote from yours or a misunderstanding.
No, it was
Do you want to apologize?
No, there's nothing to apologize for. There's nothing to apologize for. Read my statement. My statement is referring to Mexico, and they're pushing a lot of bad people into our country, and we're taking care of a lot of criminals that shouldn't be in our country. And you saw that the other day in San Francisco. We're taking care of these people. When people read my quote, they say, oh, it's sort of interesting. I made my presidential announcement right here in this building. I made it. Everybody gave me great reviews, some great reviews, some good reviews. It wasn't until a week later that people started criticizing that one statement. And I'm referring to Mexico. I have great respect for the country of Mexico. I love the Mexican people and their spirit. But the country of Mexico is killing us. The country of Mexico is taking our jobs. They're killing us at the border. They're taking advantage of the fact that we have stupid negotiators. We have very stupid people in our country negotiating for us, and we have leaders that don't know what they're doing. So I respect that. I'm not angry at Mexico. I'm angry at our leadership for not putting our right people to negotiate.
Why wouldn't you keep your manufacturing here? Your ties, your suits? Why would you not have them made here?
Because China so manipulates their currency that it's very hard to find companies that can do business in the United States.
You're a billionaire, though. Why would you not move it here just for having it in America?
Excuse me, because I'm a businessman. Let me just tell you something, and it's very interesting. You're not bringing up anything new. You're acting like you're the great reporter, blah, blah, blah. You're not bringing up, every speech I make, I talk about, I always hate that I have to have my ties made in China. And you know why they're made in China? Because China manipulates their currency to such a degree. They just manipulated it again 2 weeks ago. I never thought I'd see it so fast, again and again. They're taking our jobs. They're taking our manufacturing. They're destroying us. And by the way, we're rebuilding China. And then you know what they do? They loan us back the money. We owe $1.4 trillion to China. So they take our jobs, they take our manufacturing, and then they give us money, and we have to pay them interest.
How do you get that money back? How do you recover from this?
You take the jobs back from China. You take the jobs back from Japan. You charge Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia makes $1 billion a day. Every time there's a problem, and if you think these people were after Yemen, they're not after Yemen. They're after the oil in Saudi Arabia. You take a look at that border. This was the country that Barack Obama said, oh, wow, we had a great victory in Yemen, great victory, it's all over, great victory, right? A week later, it totally blew up in his face. That border is a long border right along Saudi Arabia. You look at what happens. That just like I predicted what was going to happen in Iraq, and all these other candidates that I'm running, they're scooting. You look at somebody like Jeb Bush. It took him 5 days to give a proper answer on Iraq. He was changing his answer every day. How is somebody like that going to negotiate with us?
International diplomacy is a delicate thing. You have to watch what you say, and how can anybody expect that you're going to be able to get into the White House and watch your mouth when you were so widely panned for these Mexico comments? How are you going to be able to hold your tongue and not piss off other countries?
Do you want to change the word? Are you allowed to use that word on television?
And not anger other countries.
So I will tell you this. I've made a lot of money against China. I've made a lot of money in all of these countries. I have great relationships with these countries. If you take a look at what's going on in terms of relationship with the United States, everybody hates us. Hillary Clinton was the worst Secretary of State in the history of the United States. Hillary was the worst. In the history of the United States, there's never been a Secretary of State so bad as Hillary. The world blew up around us. We lost everything, including all relationships. There wasn't one good thing that came out of that administration or her being Secretary of State. I have great relationships. If you look at Business Week magazine, they did a story on the 10 things that China most wants. One of the 10 things, anything Trump. Anything Trump. And I'm the toughest critic there is on China. People have to respect you. China, Mexico, we don't have a good relationship with Mexico. Look at Sergeant Tamarisi. He goes over there and they put him in jail. We didn't even have people that knew how to talk to him. Finally, he came out long after he should have been out. It was a disgrace.
What do you think of Hillary Clinton as a president? If she wins the nomination, she
I think
takes
Hillary
the White
would be a
House.
terrible president. She was the worst Secretary of State in the history of our nation. Why would she be a good president? I think she'd be a terrible president.
She says you're too divisive on immigration. The Republican Party is too divisive on immigration.
Hillary is weak on immigration. I may be divisive on immigration, but she's weak on immigration, which is far worse. Hillary would let everybody come in, killers, criminals, drug dealers, everybody. If you listen to Hillary, everybody is going to be flowing through the nation. They are sort of now anyway. But if you listen to Hillary, she is so weak on immigration. We will have a crime wave like you've never seen before.
Immigration is down. Why is this such a big topic for you right now?
Well, immigration's a very big topic. Take a look at all the crime that's being committed. Go take a look at it.
The
Look,
research
I'm
says
going
the
to
crime does not match what
it
you're saying. The
depends on whose research.
The Pew Research, which is independent,
Katy,
says
don't be naive. You're a very naive person.
the Pew Research says that there are for immigrants on the whole
Come on, try getting it out. Try getting it out.
I'll get it out.
I mean, I don't know if you're going to put this on television, but you don't even know what you're talking about. Try getting it out. Go ahead.
Immigrants commit less crime than U.S.-born citizens.
Okay.
There are less immigrants in our jails than.
You know what? Number one, I disagree with it. Number two, whether it's true or not, illegal immigrants. I'm talking about illegal immigrants. I'm not talking about immigrants. I'm talking about illegal immigrants. I'm an immigrant. You're an immigrant. We're all immigrants.
Illegal immigrants commit less crime other than coming through illegally.
I'm talking about illegal immigrants are causing tremendous crime, and nobody wants to talk about it. And that's why Fox, at least Fox, and you won't leave this perhaps, but at least Fox is being honest because they're now talking about it big league. And if I didn't bring up the subject a number of weeks ago, we wouldn't even be talking about illegal immigration right now.
If you found out that you had an illegal immigrant working for you and they were a hard worker, How would you treat them?
I think that I would treat them I'd have to tell them, you have to go back, I think, you know.
What if they were supporting their family?
I would probably tell them you have to go back. I mean, they're illegal immigrants. I'd probably say you have to go back.
They're helping.
Do I like doing that? No, I'm a nice person, believe it or not. I mean, I have a heart. But I would probably tell them you have to go back. Look, we have anywhere from 11 to 31 million. Our country doesn't even know. Can you believe the statistics are from 11 to 31 million illegal immigrants in our country? We don't even know. Okay? We don't even know. Nobody's able to tell me the number. It used to be 11, now they think it's 31 million. Nobody even knows it's a very sad situation. But you have to create a strong border. And if I didn't bring this up, we wouldn't even be talking, it wouldn't even be a subject, right?
Who pays for that wall?
Mexico.
How do you get Mexico to pay for that wall?
Only if I'm president.
How does that happen?
Because Mexico's making a fortune off the United States. I would get them to pay for the wall. Believe me, they will pay for the wall.
I just don't
And
understand
I watch
how
all
you
these
would.
pundits that don't have brains. I watch all of them say, oh, Trump can't get them. I built a great empire through negotiation. You have to be able to negotiate. Mexico is making a fortune off the United States, a fortune. In addition to sending a lot of people here that forcing, and I'm talking about they're bad people. Again, I love the Mexican people. I love their spirit. Many of them work for me right now. I respect Mexico. But their leaders and their negotiators are too smart for our leaders and our negotiators.
How high would the wall be?
I will make that wall impenetrable, okay? Impenetrable. You don't have to worry about how high it'll be. And Mexico will pay for that wall.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Great honor. Okay.
It's fun when you,
Well, it's fine. It's too bad that she mentions only the negatives. You don't want to mention all the positives.
You know, let me ask you, put the mic back on. I'm going to ask you one more. I forgot to ask it.
What is it?
I want to know why you think voters like you so much and why you're getting such big crowds. But your microphone's not on.
That question I can handle.
We have 2 minutes left to tape.
Go ahead.
So you say you're drawing these big crowds, and I was there. You drew a big crowd in New Hampshire.
Don't say, the way you put it, everything's so negative. I'm not saying I'm drawing. You're saying I'm drawing them.
You're
And
number two. Why do people
I'm
respond
actually
to you
number one.
so much?
I'm actually number one in Huffington Post and some others, and the new polls haven't even come out yet.
Why are they responding to you so much?
Because I tell the truth. I say what's happening. I made a tremendous fortune. And that's the kind of mentality we need in this country. Jeb Bush will never take us to the promised land. He doesn't have it. Hillary will never take us to the promised land. Hillary will be a disaster as a president. Jeb will be very poor as a president, no energy. We need somebody that can make great deals with China, with Japan, with Mexico. We need somebody that really understands and cherishes the military. I actually think I'll be the jobs president, but I actually think I'll be even better in terms of the military. I will create military where nobody's going to mess around with the United States.
Do you think it's just name recognition?
No, I think it's the fact that I say things that people agree with.
More people than maybe we expect to agree with you? Or the establishment might expect?
People like what I say. They agree with what I say. I have had tremendous success. If I didn't have the success, I think it wouldn't be the same thing. I've had tremendous success. They understand I've had tremendous success, and they respect me. And what I'm telling, I don't need this. I don't need this. What I'm doing is for the country. I want to make America great again. We have a last shot. If we keep going the way it's going, America is going to be permanently scarred. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.